Hallo und willkommen in Deutschland. Hey, what's going on today, guys? My name's Trey. Welcome back to the channel, and as always, welcome back to beautiful, sunny Germany. Today, as you can tell by the title of this video, we're gonna be talking about my first full week living in Germany, the things that I've learned, the mistakes I've made, and just some of the amazing things that I have noticed and learned living here in Germany. So stay tuned and let's get into it. So before we dive into this video, I think it's pretty important for me to provide some background and clarification on who I am as a person. So hi, my name is Trey. I'm from the US, so that makes me an American, and I'm living here in Germany. Now, the last place I lived in the US was actually Hawaii, so I hope that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm coming from, who I am. Now, I'm not Hawaiian, I'm not from Hawaii, I'm actually from South Florida specifically, so I hope that also kind of lets you know who I am as a person. So I just hope that kind of gives you guys some clarification and background before we get into this video. All right, guys, brace yourselves. I have a full list in my notes in my phone of all of the things that I have noticed. The very first thing I want to talk about is the trash. Unlike the US, a place that only has two real methods of disposing of your waste, which includes waste and recycling, Germany has a full-fledged color-coded system of trash bins to dispose of your goods or dispose of your waste. And I think it's actually really cool. At first I was a little bit confused, I was a little bit stressed out, and I'm gonna be honest, I put stuff in the wrong bins. But after living here for a week now, I've sort of started to learn like this goes here, this goes there. And I think it's really cool, actually. I think a huge benefit of having such a sophisticated trash system is obviously a clean country. Like, we've driven all over the Stuttgart area, we've driven south of here, and we really haven't seen too much trash anywhere. And I think it's because of this intricate system that they have set up here in Germany. So I'm sure being an American and coming here, or being a Canadian and coming here, or really being from any other country that doesn't have as sophisticated of a trash system, it might take a little bit of getting used to. But once you actually get the hang of things, you'll notice that this is a really awesome system. So don't stress yourself at the beginning. Trash, it's trash. So it's gotta go somewhere. Somebody's gotta handle it, but the way Germany's doing it, they're doing it the right way. The next thing I wanna talk about actually kind of piggybacks off of the trash, and that's just how clean this country truly is. Now, I've been here to Germany before. I've been to Dusseldorf, I've been to Köln, I've been all over this amazing country. And the one thing that I've noticed is how clean this place is. Now, I know that's subjective. I know there's a lot of people that might be from here, or might be citizens of Germany that have lived here for a few years that might not feel the same as me. But as somebody that has come from the United States and has lived in cities such as Los Angeles, I've lived in South Florida, I've lived in Hawaii, I've lived in Chicago, this place is really clean. I think their very sophisticated and intricate trash system or waste system is the reason why this place is so clean. Like, when you're driving down the highway, you obviously don't see anybody throwing trash out on the highway. You don't see trash everywhere. You don't see cigarettes just thrown around. People put their trash where it needs to go. So I think that's really cool. This place is really clean. And for a country of this size and with an economy the size of Germany's, I think it's pretty impressive that this place is borderline spotless, in my opinion. The next thing I want to talk about is the driving. Now, the driving culture here in Germany is probably one of the best on the planet. Everybody here understands the rules of the road. Everybody is very courteous. Now, granted, if you're one of those individuals that's gonna drive like a grandma in the far left lane, the Germans aren't gonna treat you too nice. That's just the way things are here. Honestly, that's the way things are in the US as well. But I think one of the biggest things is in the US, there's just a lot of people, unfortunately, are inconsiderate. They're very selfish. They don't understand the rules of the road. They don't have any defensive driving skills. So here in Germany, I would say that there's a nationwide understanding of driving. And I think that that's really important. People have a pretty broad understanding of driving. From literally going from an on-ramp onto a highway, or the Bahns as they call it here in Germany, I've noticed that people just understand what they're doing. And it's really helpful. It's really made me feel safe personally. I last lived in Hawaii, a place that has literally, unfortunately, been dubbed one of the worst places in the US and on the planet to drive. It's really refreshing to come here to a place where people actually know what they're doing behind the wheel. Now, even though Germany is known for its lightning fast thoroughfare called the Autobahn, people here in Germany, they drive with a purpose, and I appreciate that. The next thing I want to talk about that is pretty different and unique here in Germany versus anywhere else that I've lived in the US personally, and that is real estate. So the real estate here in Germany, I'm not gonna get too in depth into it because I'm still learning a lot. The thing I wanna talk about though is how a house is actually labeled and how the description is completely different than anything that I'm personally used to. And so what I mean by that is, for example, because obviously we're looking for houses and places to live, is let's say you are looking at an apartment, what would be considered a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the US, you come over here to Germany, that place is gonna be bumped up to a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And so the labeling is completely different than anything that I'm used to in the US. And the Germans, what they do is they actually list the main rooms in a home as part of the room. So just basically the easiest thing that I can tell you is if you're looking for a place to live here in Germany and it does say that it's a 3-bedroom or it does say that it's a 4-bedroom, just do the easiest thing, which is subtracting 1, and that's how many actual physical bedrooms a place has. Pretty different, pretty unique, but I still think it's uniquely German and something that is honestly pretty easy to adjust to. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is one of the most important factors to consider on this list, and that's actually the safety and the crime level. So as I mentioned, I'm from South Florida originally. The last place I lived in the US was Hawaii. Unfortunately, believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize this, but Honolulu, specifically where we live, is one of the most crime-ridden cities in the US and unfortunately on the globe. Like, there's so much crime that happens there. It's really sad to see because it's such a beautiful place, but unfortunately, the US has become sort of a haven of crime. And obviously, like, population comes into play about that. There's such a wealth gap in the US as well. There's all different types of factors that come into play when you consider crime. But here in Germany, I personally haven't really noticed too much crime. And so we've been watching news in German and we just don't see too much crime being discussed. Now, obviously, I can probably dig a little bit deeper to see what the crime statistics are here in Germany, but on the surface, this place is actually really safe, and I don't think that crime is a major issue. Now, in larger cities like Berlin and München and, you know, Köln and Dusseldorf, there might be a little bit more crime in those areas. But from what I've noticed living here in Stuttgart, crime has virtually been non-existent. Like, it even got to the point where I went to go pick up some stuff in Stuttgart proper yesterday. I left my car open by mistake. I had some pretty expensive stuff sitting out on the seats and it was still there. Now, if I would have been in Honolulu or Los Angeles or New York or Miami or Chicago and I have even left anything, I'm talking even a plastic bag sitting out, my windows would have been broken. Like, there's always probable cause for criminals to break into your cars in the US. But here in Germany, I'm not saying that, you know, theft doesn't happen, but on the scale that it happens in the US, it's virtually non-existent in comparison here in Germany. I think that's really cool, and it's also quite the relief. You know, nobody ever wants to be constantly having to think, well, dang, I left this plastic bag sitting here. I left this bag sitting here. I left this sitting here. I left that sitting. And you definitely don't want to leave anything of value sitting in your car, in the US specifically, because that's just probable cause and grounds for a criminal to break into your car. And it just has been such a relief not to deal with that here in Germany. This next thing on the list is kind of a weird thing to mention, but it's just something that I've noticed, and that is gonna be people stare. People here in Germany stare at you, and there's this phenomenon that occurs. I've noticed it in Stuttgart. I've noticed it, you know, on the outskirts of Stuttgart, because we've just been driving around trying to, you know, gauge how the area is, gauge how this metropolitan area and region is people, and it's typically women that do this. Some men do it, but I've noticed a lot of older women do it, is they will actually stare from their windows. They'll just sit out their windows with the windows ajar or open, and they just stare. And at first, I was a little bit freaked out by it because, I don't know, you just have some older lady staring at you. But I realized that's just part of the culture here in Germany. And I think it's pretty cool. It's like sort of an unofficial neighborhood watch. Obviously, the US has neighborhood watches. It doesn't involve some, you know, lady staring at you constantly out her window. But I think it's a pretty cool system, and I think it helps to sort of build community, because what I've learned is, for example, there's some kids outside playing right now, and I actually see this lady staring at them, is she's keeping them safe. You know, they might not see a car coming, the car might not see the kids playing, so she could flag the car down. So it's pretty cool, actually. I will say it took a little bit of getting used to, and I'm not saying that there aren't like people watchers in the US. I've seen it before in New York, I've seen it in LA, but here in Germany, it's very prevalent. It's like every other house, especially on the weekends or after school, there are these older ladies that sit on their windowsills and just stare. They watch, they people watch. So that took a little bit of getting used to. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something that I noticed. The next thing I want to talk about is actually a pretty important thing to mention, and that is that Sundays, everything here in Germany closes. So I'm actually filming this on a Sunday right now, and it is quiet. Like there's just like a national quiet day here in Germany, and that day of the week is Sunday. Like everything is closed. Grocery stores, malls, most of the retail locations are closed. The only things that you'll find open on a Sunday are going to be, most fast food restaurants, but some of the like family owned and family operated restaurants are actually gonna close on Sundays. So there's this like nationwide understanding that as soon as Sunday comes, that's our day to stay home and that's our day to relax and chill, basically. And I think that that's pretty cool. Now, granted, since this is our first week here and it's a Sunday today, we had actually almost made the mistake of going out and going grocery shopping, but something told me like, let me check the hours, let me see what's going on. And I started to notice as I was going down the list of places to go grocery shopping to do and places to see, I noticed that everything was closed. This is across Germany. This isn't just Baden-Württemberg specifically. This is going to be everywhere in Germany. So I think it's pretty cool. US, everything is open on Sunday. That is when most sporting events happen. That is when most bars are just absolutely crazy and jumping and like everybody's having a good time. Sundays are a loud day. Everybody's at the beach. Everybody's grilling. Everybody's barbecuing. Everybody's having cookouts. Everybody's just active in the US on Sundays. It's a very loud day of the week. There's not going to be any recognition of quietness on a Sunday in the US. But here in Germany, it's known nationwide. Sunday is our day for relaxation. Next thing I want to talk about is going to be a pretty quick topic, and that's just the amount of grocery stores that Germany has. And everything is really reasonably priced. Now, I know I'm from Hawaii, a place where the groceries are some of the highest on the planet because it's a small island stuck in the middle of the Pacific. So it takes, obviously, lots of man hours to get things from the mainland US or from, anywhere in Southeast Asia to Hawaii. I understand that it's a process to get things there, and that's why it's so expensive. But here in Germany, everything is reasonably priced. Everything is fresh. If you're into organic or if you're into vegan, there are tons of vegan and organic options here in Germany. If you like meat, if you like dairy, if you like produce, some of the best meat, dairy, and produce that you'll find in Europe can actually be found here in Germany. It's obviously the largest economy here in Europe, and for a reason. Like, they really have put so much time and effort into fine-tuning their grocery and retail process. Like, some of the best stores on the planet can be found here in Germany, like Aldi or Lidl, which are actually places that have found a new home in the US. So, and places that I personally love, and that, they have some really different offerings that you'll find at like a Safeway, for example, or Vons or Ralph's or Publix if you're from Florida, or Albertsons or Winn-Dixie's. Some of the stuff here is really good and a lot less priced than you'll find in the US. So I think that's pretty cool. There's tons of grocery stores. When you come here to Germany, hit up all of them because they're all different. They all have like their little things, and I think they're all great. The final thing I want to talk about is Germany has a nice blend of old and new when it comes to its architecture and when it comes to its cities and towns. And so what I mean by that is, so for example, right now our Airbnb is a little bit in the outskirts of Stuttgart, but everything out here is pretty new. Like, everything out here is gonna be new construction. But if you literally drive like 5 minutes over to the next town, everything is just authentic. Like, everything is original. A lot of the buildings here are from the 1800s that survived, World War I and World War II. I can't really explain it, but it's beautiful. Germany truly is a beautiful country. Like, they've done so much to fine-tune their housing, Now, granted, housing here in Germany is going to be completely different from the US in that everything is compact, everything is tight. In Germany, they like to build on top. Sort of like if you've been to the UK, the British like to build. Like, they don't expand, they like to build on top. And I think that's kind of how things are here in Germany, which is completely from the US. And I'll use Texas, for example. I'll even use Florida, for example. You go to Texas or you go to Florida, houses there are big, they are massive, and they are spread out. Like, you can't hand your neighbor a cup of coffee out the window like you can here in Germany. You might need a megaphone to talk to your neighbor if you live in Texas or Florida, if you own a house there, own property there. Like, it's completely different here in Germany. Now, I'm not saying that, every place in Germany is like that, but for the most part, most cities and towns and metropolitan areas, it's gonna be pretty compact. But I think that actually adds a little bit of character and uniqueness to Germany specifically. But I think that's just Europe in general, right? So there's not as much space as you'll find in the US or in Canada. So they have to work with what they have. I think that Germany is such a beautiful place. It's a beautiful country. The people are beautiful. The food is outstanding. This place has so much to offer and I'm excited to live here. I'm gonna continue to make so many mistakes. I've tried and attempted to speak German out in public. Another thing that I've noticed is that if my German isn't good enough, the person's just automatically gonna switch to English. I guess because I look like an American or a Canadian, or I guess I could appear to be British, but obviously I sound like an American. So that's been another challenging thing, but I'll discuss that in a later video. But you know, for the most part, this has been an outstanding week. Like, we have been hustling so much. We've driven all over. We've made so many mistakes. Like, we've noticed so many great things. We met some great people. We actually found our apartment too, which is really exciting. I don't think I've ever found an apartment this quick after moving to a new place. We managed to find it within the first week of living here, so I'll be talking about that in a later video. So if this video brought you any value at all whatsoever, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you're German and you want to talk about anything that I mentioned, please leave it in the comment section below. I'm also gonna link my Insta below if you wanna send me a DM, if you wanna talk anything. Just hit me up. And if you live here in Stuttgart specifically and you wanna meet up, just hit me up. I'm not working right now because they're giving us some time off to explore a little bit and find a place and find a car. So I got time. I've got time. But I love Germany so much. So thank you guys so much for watching, and auf Wiedersehen.